Hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru, where anything is possible. So today we're going to take a look at one of the biggest subjects that we can possibly explore here in this channel, and that is the end of the world. So there are so many channels out there that are dedicated to this subject, and one might think that the event is right around the corner, and perhaps it is. Many people will tell you as much, and some will even present you with some fairly compelling evidence for it. Perhaps that is what makes it such a tantalizing subject. Maybe that is why we are fascinated with the end of the world, just because it can literally happen at any second for any number of reasons. One can make a case that the end of the world is already in full swing, with the daily pumping of over 400 tons of nuclear waste into the Pacific Ocean from the Fukushima power plant. That fact alone is certain to make folks think long and hard about how long the Pacific can last at that rate. And if the Pacific Ocean dies, how long until the rest go with it? When you do the math on this one, don't plan on sleeping for the next few weeks or so. What about weather anomalies? Volcanoes, massive hurricanes, earthquakes happening so often nobody even cares about it anymore. We are literally having so many earthquakes that most people think that this is just how it's always been. Some folks forget that just 40 or 50 years ago, we used to almost not have any earthquakes at all by comparison. Some folks would like to point to the fact that the rise in geoactivity is exactly in line with the rise in use of HAARP technology. These folks contend that HAARP's ELF waves could be used to cause earthquakes, and that HAARP has been used to set up a massive weapon based on Nikola Tesla's research. And how about chemtrails? 20 years ago, we had blue skies everywhere across the United States. Growing up in New England, I have seen my fair share of cloudy, overcast weather, but on the days that the sun did shine, it was clear blue skies, just like the rest of the country. I can remember driving across country and not seeing any type of trail in the sky whatsoever. Anything that you would see in the sky as far as trails were exceedingly rare. Contrails did happen from time to time, but that's when planes were extremely high and the water vapor would cause a natural plume of mist to span out behind the plane for a short ways. However, these contrails faded out very quickly behind the aircraft, as condensation should. Nothing like today's chemtrails that not only persist and linger in the sky, but grow and widen to engulf the entire sky with clouds. These are now daily occurrences in most cities and towns in the United States, and indeed around the world. I cannot say how many days now start off as a nice sunny day with the sun climbing into the noon sky, then come the planes spraying chemtrails that crisscross the sky, and soon thereafter they grow and widen into a solid sheet of white that has become our new normal. Complete cloud cover is not natural to have every single day, or at least it didn't used to be normal. Now, we cannot say for sure what the purpose of these chemtrails are, but we can see them on any given day in any corner of the world. They supposedly contain strontium, barium, aluminum, and other various substances. The more you read on the subject, the stranger things get, because it seems that not only are there 100 different recipes for the contents, but there's also 100 different reasons for them being there in the first place. From the complete sheep who laughably say they're just contrails, to the folks that say it's part of a military program designed at controlling and weaponizing the weather. Now, on the surface, that sounds a bit ludicrous to believe that the government is going to use the weather as a weapon. It may conjure up images of a bad Bond villain laughing maniacally when his weather weapon is turned on the world. But when you look just one layer deeper, you find that not only has the government been controlling the weather in various ways since the 1970s, but they've also published their plans to completely own the weather by the year 2025. So, now it may not seem so ludicrous after all, since the world's governments are directly looking into controlling the weather and weaponizing it. When you think about it, wouldn't that be one of the most powerful weapons of all time anyway? In one way, it would be like having the power of a nuclear weapon in your hands, but without that pesky radioactivity that goes along with it. I mean, what's more powerful than weather? One massive storm can sink an entire fleet of ships and destroy countless aircraft. Earthquakes could destroy entire cities in minutes, wiping out entire armies in a matter of moments without firing a single shot. Yes, weather weapons are quite powerful and completely capable of destroying the planet. But so too are nuclear weapons. mankind has devised a way to destroy itself in just a matter of minutes and maybe even just a few short hours with nuclear weapons. We have to push a few buttons, turn a few keys, and all of a sudden our lush green planet turns into a smoking, burnt-out husk, literally overnight. The loss of life would be near complete if everyone pulls all the triggers, and life as we know it would be gone forever. If we wanted to, we could end the world at any time we choose. No matter how you look at it, that is quite an accomplishment. It certainly makes the end of the world a reality, and realistically, it's a choice. Then of course there is the ever-present chance of the asteroid strike. This is the cosmic equivalent of getting hit by a bus in one way, but in another way, it's a certainty that the bus will strike. Asteroid strikes cannot be avoided, in part because we don't know when or where they're coming from, or where they'll strike. Without that key information, we cannot hope to avoid them. Systems are in place to give warnings, but they are little more than a hope and a prayer at this point. Perhaps one day the technology will advance to the point that a sufficient system will be developed, but for now, they do little more than look good. Yep, in today's world, an asteroid strike is quite likely to be the culprit that will end the world. Then of course there are the pandemics and flus and plagues and all things biological. These things are scary enough as they are, but when man meddles with them, they become so very much scarier. Biological pestilence like plague and flu has wiped out large portions of life on this planet in the past, and will likely do so again in the future. If mankind is lucky, we will be able to hold it in check with a cure or a treatment, but if it's a designer strain, something created solely for the purpose of killing, well, then God help us. Technology is a wonderful thing, but it's also a dangerous thing. We now have the technology available that will allow just about anyone with an interest in biology to create their own powerful bioweapons in their basements. Just imagine the bioweapons that can be created in a government-run lab that has unlimited funding and equipment. Yes, the end of the world is far more than a possibility. It is an inevitability. Even if the planet manages to stay out of the way of the asteroids, and mankind decides not to commit harikari, the sun will eventually burn out in a few million years, leaving the planet a dry, burnt rock when it goes supernova, then a cold, lifeless ice ball after that. So to quote a film, death always wins. That's the deal. But maybe, just maybe, when life does end on this marble that we all call home, maybe we will have escaped to some other marble somewhere. Or perhaps we will have evolved into a new species, perhaps merging with machines to create a different version of man, one better suited to life in space, and maybe one better suited to life in general. It's a nice thought. So get in the comment section and let us know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your likes, subscribes, and comments, and we'll see you in the next video.